I'm sure a lot of people are aware that this weekly Torah reading, Vayechi, the last Torah reading of the Sefer Bereshit, is unique in that it does not start from what we call Parsha. Let me explain that the word Parsha can mean two different things. It's in a way a homonym. They're similar things but not exactly identical. One thing is when the Torah is written, the scroll of Torah is written in paragraphs. So there are two types of paragraphs, what they call the closed parsha and the open parsha. You could call it, I guess, half a paragraph and a full paragraph. Usually, the way they're written in Sifrei Torah, even though there are some disputes about the details, but we usually try to follow all opinions for the scroll to be kosher according to the opinion of Rambam, the Maimonides, and the opinion of Rosh. The way the Sifrei Torah are written, when it's a Parsha Stuma, a closed Parsha, what you see is in the middle of the line, there is a space for 9 letters, just empty space. And then the text continues on the same line. So that's considered a closed Parsha, meaning half a paragraph of sorts, when it's not a full new topic. And then there are open Parshiyot, when we start from the beginning of new line, just like it's done in English and in other languages. That's what people do usually when they want to say that it's a new topic now, finished one paragraph, started a new paragraph. So that's Parsha Petucha, open Parsha. On the other hand, we also call Parsha the actual weekly reading, like Parshat Vayechi. The weekly reading of this week is the last Parsha of Bereshit. So when I'm saying the word Parsha here, you have to follow which meaning it has, which of the two meanings I'm using. So what I'm trying to say is that all the other Parshiyot, meaning weekly readings, always start with the first type of Parsha, either closed or open. All the other Parshiyot, except for Vayechi, they start either at a new paragraph. Every weekly reading starts as a new topic, new paragraph, or it may start at the very least on the same paragraph where there was a skip of 9 letters, an empty space for 9 letters. That is a Parsha Stuma. But there is no such thing as the new Parsha, which just starts in the middle of a paragraph somewhere. The text, of course, there are no dots in the end of the sentences in the Torah. There is no way to distinguish the end of the sentence from any other place. Every pasuk, all the ta'amim, what's called, the cantillation marks, the notes, the musical notes for the reading are part of the oral law. They're not written down in the scroll of Torah. Of course, when the book of Torah is published, you do see the ta'amim. And one of the ta'amim is sof pasuk, the end of a sentence, the end of a verse. But in the Torah itself, in the scroll, it's just paragraphs. There's no way to distinguish where the sentence ends and the new sentence starts. You have to remember those parts. But the paragraph just looks like one big paragraph. And always the new weekly reading, the new Parsha, starts with either closed or open Parsha, except for Vayechi. The Midrash Rabbah already discusses it. Bereshit Rabbah asks why this Parsha, what they call is closed. They don't mean that it's a Parsha Stuma, closed Parsha. They mean that it's in the middle of the paragraph, that there's no Parsha at all. Meaning it's closed, it's not the beginning of a new topic of sorts. It's in a way right in the middle, smack in the middle of a paragraph. And they give 3 answers, 2 of which Rashi brings. I don't know why Rashi didn't bring the third answer. One of the answers a lot of people probably heard, that when Yaakov died, the persecution of Egyptians, our main galut started. Or another possibility, when Yaakov wanted to reveal the end of days, he wasn't able to. Hashem didn't give him the kind of revelation to be able to fully reveal the end of days that he wanted. There's a third explanation that apparently is on a positive note, that Yaakov's problems ended. His last 17 years were the best years of his life in a certain sense. Yaakov lived a very difficult life until the last 17 years. So what I want to discuss on this video is a very interesting point that the Vilna Gaon, the Gra, makes. If you want the source, the original source is in the end of the book Yahel Ohr. Yahel Ohr is the Gra's commentary on the Zohar, Kabbalistic work. And at the end of it, there are a few different likutim, what they call, miscellaneous topics. And one of them has to do with the number of Parshiyot in the Torah. And he found a very, very interesting, I think it's amazing what he found, that the number of open Parshiyot is like the number of positive commandments in the Torah, 248, plus the 7 Mitzvot that are Derabonan. So it's 248 plus 7, which is 255. And the number of closed Parshiyot is exactly like the number of negative commandments, mitzvot lo taseh, something that we're not allowed to do. Right? All the commandments of the Torah are either positive, what we have to do, or negative, what we're not allowed to do. So the counting, though, is not as simple as one might think. If you just count all the open Parshiyot and all the closed Parshiyot, you won't get exactly the numbers that the guy is getting. But this is how he's counting. Notice something very interesting here. First of all, the total number of Parshiyot in the Torah. If you open any standard Chumash, a lot of times at the end they write how many letters are in the Torah, how many sentences. There, it says that the number of Parshiyot is 5 less than that. So what the Gra is counting and what they don't is the beginnings of each book, the 5 books of Moshe. So what we're saying is that the total number is 674, and that includes Bereshit, Shemot, the beginning of each book. And in the standard printing, it's 5 less than that because they don't count the beginnings of each book. So now, the commandments correspond, according to the Gra, to the ones that do not start a new weekly reading. Meaning you have to subtract all the weekly readings and also the special Parsha of Vayechi ben Soaron, which is like a separate book. But the problem is that you have to account for the fact that this Parsha, Vayechi, does not start in the beginning of a Parsha, like I mentioned. Plus Nitzavim and Vayelech is considered one Parsha. The Gra writes it in many different places. It only split it sometimes because of the Rosh Hashanah. It falls on certain days and we have an extra Shabbat. But really it's all one Parsha. The Gra in a different place writes that the 10 Parshiyot of Sefer Dvarim correspond to the 10 centuries. They hint to the events of the 10 centuries in the last millennia. And I wrote a whole brochure that tries to find the various correspondences. For instance, World War II, the Tshuva movement afterwards, they all fall in the right places in the Torah and the right Parshot. But at any rate, you have to count Nitzavim and Vayechi as one Parsha for this. They're both short and most of the time they're read together. So we're now left with 52, but like I said, you calculate it back by adding the Vayechi ben Soaron, which has 2 Parshiyot there. So it's back to 54. So you're subtracting 54 and you're left with 620. And that's exactly the number of commandments. There are 613 commandments plus 7 positive commandments that are all Derabonan. There are special 7 commandments that are considered the main Derabonans. There are a lot of rabbinical commandments, of course, that are Gedarim, various types of what they call fences around the Torah. But there are also 7 independent commandments, for example, Hanukkah, lighting Hanukkah candles, Purim, right, Megillah, Hallel, lighting Shabbat candles. There's altogether 7 such commandments. So it's a well-known fact that there are 620 commandments if you include those 7 Derabonans. By the way, that's the number of letters in the 10 Aseret HaDibrot, also is 620. It's Gematria of Keter, and there are a lot of writings in Mikubalim that discuss this issue, that there are 620 commandments if you count the 7 Derabonans. So we're left at the number of Parshiyot, if we don't count the ones that start a new weekly reading, is exactly like the number of commandments. And now he's splitting them into positive and negative. So he says that Reish Nun Hei, 255 of them are Parshiyot Petuchot, Open Parshiyot, and that's exactly the number of positive commandments, including the 7 Derabonans, as I said. And the number of negative commandments is, of course, 365. Everybody knows it's connected the days of the solar year and other correspondences. And that, he says, is exactly the number of the Parshiyot Stumot, the closed Parshiyot. So I thought that's a very interesting idea and wanted to tell those who don't know it yet. And if you like this video, please press like and please subscribe to our channel.